Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're going to begin with the text of Jonah today. And we're going to be talking about chapter 1. We've taken 4 days to introduce this book, but I think we needed that really to get the background of the story. A story that's so familiar to us, and yet that we misread, misapply. We really need to listen to. I want to just go ahead and read the 17 verses of chapter 1. The word of Yahweh, the word of the Lord, came to Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, the great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness has come before me. But Jonah rose up to flee to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. So he went down to Joppa, found a ship which was going to Tarshish, paid the fare, and went down into it to go with them to Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. And the Lord hurled a great wind on the sea, and there was a great storm on the sea, so that ship was about to break up. Then the sailors became afraid, and every man cried to his God. And they threw the cargo, which was in the ship, into the sea to lighten it for them. But Jonah had gone below into the hold of the ship, lain down and fallen sound asleep. So the captain approached him and said, How is it that you are sleeping? Get up, call on your God. Perhaps your God will be concerned about us so that we will not perish. And each man said to his mate, Come, let us cast lots that we may learn on whose account this calamity has struck us. So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah. And they said to him, Tell us now, on whose account has this calamity struck us? What is your occupation? Where do you come from? What is your country? From what people are you? And he said to them, I'm a Hebrew, and I fear Yahweh, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. And the men became extremely frightened. And they said to him, How could you do this? For the men knew he was fleeing from the presence of the Lord, because he told them. So they said to him, What should we do, that the sea may become calm for us? For the sea was becoming increasingly stormy. And he said then, Pick me up and throw me into the sea. Then the sea will become calm for you. For I know that on account of me this great storm has come upon you. However, the men rowed desperately to return to land, but they could not, for the sea was becoming even stormier against them. Then they called on Yahweh and said, We earnestly pray, Yahweh, do not let us perish on account of this man's life, and do not put innocent blood on us. For you, Yahweh, has done as you have pleased. So they picked up Jonah, and they threw him into the sea, and the sea stopped its raging. Then the man feared Yahweh greatly, and they offered sacrifice to Yahweh and made vows. And the Lord appointed a great fish, or prepared a great fish, to swallow Jonah. And Jonah was in the stomach of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. I hope as we were reading this, you saw all the connections to the story of Jesus. There's just so many, and to several New Testament stories. But what we want to focus on today is what's happening here. I hope we notice that some pagans became believers in the God of Israel, and named him and prayed to him and sacrificed to him. So his prophetic work, his evangelistic work, has already paid dividends, even before he gets swallowed by, or as he's getting swallowed by the fish. So anyway, he's told to go prophesy against Nineveh, the great city, and he knows that could produce repentance. So he runs away. He runs away. Tarshish is the Iberian Peninsula. It's Spain. It's the other side of the Mediterranean Sea. It's the end of the earth as far as he's concerned. He's going to go as far as he can. And is he going to try to go beyond that to get away from God? I don't know. But he's running from God. And he goes to Joppa. Joppa is key for the New Testament because that's where Peter had his vision before he went to preach the gospel to Cornelius, to the Gentiles. There's connections there. Joppa is not in the control of either the northern or southern kingdom at this time. It's in the old Philistine area, and it's a major seaport. The Philistines are sea peoples. They are seafarers, and so they're an international group of folks on this boat. It wouldn't have been a very big boat, and so it would have been tossed around. During the storm, what's he doing? What was Jesus doing during the storm on the Sea of Galilee? He's sleeping, because it doesn't bother him, because he doesn't care if he dies. He just does not want to go to Nineveh to try to save that city. He doesn't want to do that. Now, notice that God never promises that he will save the city, but Jonah knows that the prophecy itself is a second chance, and he won't do it. And he's honest with the guys. Everybody's praying to their God. And how can you sleep? Who are you? Where are you from? And you can just hear the frantic tone in their voice as they're trying to figure out what's going on. And he tells them. He tells them who he is. He tells them what he's done. And he says, if you want this to end, you got to throw me in the sea. And they don't want to do that. So they're not like the Assyrians, you know. They're not ruthless. They don't want to just throw a guy into the sea, even if he tells them to. They don't want to be guilty of innocent blood. So they pray this prayer to God before they end up throwing him into the sea. But they make their best effort to get back to shore before they do that. We have a lot of affection and admiration for the people on that boat, don't we? I mean, at least I do. It's one of the oldest seafaring narratives in the ancient world that we have as humans on this planet. In fact, the book of Jonah is being written at about the same time that the Homeric epics were being formed. Of course, they weren't written down for centuries. They were being memorized and sung. But so this narrative is contemporary. So we know that there's a lot of ocean or sea traffic on the Mediterranean, and people were quite skilled at sailing. So we're not surprised that he could go to Joppa and catch a boat for Tarshish. Well, they throw him into the sea, and immediately everything's calm, and immediately they become converts to faith in Yahweh, in the God of Israel, the God of heaven and earth, that he is the one true God. So already we've gotten something of happy, not a happy ending, but of blessed results. And yet, the Lord is not going to allow him to commit suicide. He's not. He has prepared an enormous fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the stomach of that fish for 3 days. A lot of scientific writing has gone into trying to prove or disprove that this could take place, which is kind of goofy. You know, because whatever this sea creature was, it's one that God specially designed for this moment. Whether, you know, he created something on the spot that was suited to the task, or whether through genetics he altered something when it was born so that it would be ready at the right time, I don't know. But this was specifically designed for this moment by God to bring the prophet to a moment of repentance, which we'll talk about next time when we read his prayer in chapter 2. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and really appreciate you spending this time with me.